creating something from strands is always good things to do. And I wanted to make sure the right ones are right pieces. Okay, 3 and 1 yellow. Okay, so take a moment and I'll put some in the water, and then it'll be within a few minutes, it'll be ready. So when we soften the cedar, it's better to put it in hot water, because hot water will soften the cedar much quicker. And when using yellow cedar, there's a stronger fragrance to it. So as soon as I put this in the water, I could smell the cedar, very strong fragrance to it. And that's something that yellow cedar has different from red cedar. So when I'm teaching a class, often I'll get the people to check over the pieces that they've got and line them up 2 and 2. Crisscross them over and under, pull them in close like that, and then I use my fingers as a little pair of pinchers. And so I'm gonna fold it over, crease it, fold it under, and then over the center one, and pull them up tight. Over, crease it, under, and pull it up tight. And so by doing this from the very start, the strand, the bracelet will be tight when it dries. So making sure that there's no spaces in between is what the goal is. And while I'm doing the weaving here is when I get the stories and I teach the stories about this. The basic weave that we're doing here is just over under strand weave, 4-strand weave. 4 is important in our Coast Salish culture because there's 4 seasons and there's 4 directions, and those are important things to share with people that may not have the knowledge of this. When I started learning, I sat with one of the elders, and they shared with me a story that there was a lady in the Cowichan area. She was weaving, before she was weaving, she had raised all her children. She was 67 years old, and she was going up the mountain each day to pray, to decide what she should do. One day while she was walking down, she was tripped and stumbled, and she noticed on her foot was tangled up with something. So she tried to pull it away from the tree, and the more she pulled, the tighter it got. So she reached back to unravel what was on her foot, and she noticed the exact same weave here was woven around her leg. And while she was unweaving that's when she got the idea, that's what I could be doing. I could be weaving. So she started collecting the cedar roots in the proper way, and it felt that was what she wanted to do. So for the rest of her life, she was weaving all the time. When she passed away, she was in her late 80s in the Cowichan Valley, and she was known as the best cedar root weaver of her time. And she didn't do her first weave until she was 67 years old. So we always say that you're never too old to learn something new. It's about your heart being willing to learn. And by what I'm doing here, I have also worked with, it used to be called Seniors Connect in Nanaimo here, and they were all seniors. And one of the ladies spoke up at one time when I shared that story, and she said, I'm 67. And so she could relate to that story because she was weaving for her first time, and she was 67 years old. So. Questions, thoughts, comments?
Well, I wondered what you felt people could learn from weaving cedar.
Weaving, when I taught weaving, I've taught weaving in the prisons. And what I share with people is that they've made some mistakes in their own life and it ended up where they were at. But if you carefully weave each strand together without hurrying or without other stresses or anything, because weaving is a therapeutic thing also. And that's what I teach a lot. I've been taught about that it's very therapeutic to weave. And if we can weave strands together very carefully and be cautious of what we weave, we can have a beautiful product when we're done. And it's like our life. If we weave together carefully and do careful work with our life, we could end up with a beautiful life by the end. But It's part of us keeping our minds busy and finding ways to do something that's therapeutic. And weaving is definitely a good way to do that. So.
Mm.